Richard Burton is a passionate man, a legend of the stage and screen. His brimming masculinity helped him woo the hottest actresses and got him into the stickiest of troubles. But the daring actor didn't mind. He lived as he pleased, and pleased as he lived. Why Richard Burton thought so little of himself? Make sure to watch the video until the end and leave your thoughts in the comments. If you are new here, join our wonderful community by subscribing to the Matensis channel. Richard Burton is a passionate mate and an emotional man at heart. Also, he was a big fraud. Or at least, that's what was revealed in his diaries. Richard was a writer at heart, and he made detailed revelations of his thoughts and things about himself he dared not tell anyone. One such thing is him admitting he was a sellout. How he managed to conceive such a thought would always continue to stun. Burton believed he wasted his great talent by appearing in Hollywood movies instead of sticking to acting on stage. All my life, I think I've been secretly ashamed of being an actor, and the older I get, the more ashamed I get. What he felt was strange is that he had more acclaim on the stage than he did as an actor on the screen. Even when he needed to boost his career, Burton chose the stage to achieve this. He appeared in Henry V, which was a Shakespeare classic. The Shakespearean show ran in the London Old Vic Theatre, and it got not only acclaim, but money, as it was a box office gem. To crown this critical and commercial success, the actor got the Theatre Award for Best Actor. The actor even began to get nicknames like the Welsh Wizard and many more. So again, you have to wonder where he got the mindset that he was a sellout who didn't care about his career trajectory. If he didn't care about how his career went, he wouldn't have gone to the stage after he was part of a series of bomb films where critics recognized his talent, but the films were commercial and critical failures. Richard even once declined a $1 million film deal so that he could perform Hamlet on the stage in a production that only earned him £150 weekly. Burton had committed himself to Hamlet, and nothing could make him break his commitment. The money didn't shift his focus or make him regret it. He was so focused on the Hamlet production that he gave a resounding performance. The performance was so engaging that Winston Churchill, the British Prime Minister, showered the actor with praise. And it wasn't only Churchill. All of the actor's colleagues were in awe of how he pulled the performance off. Maybe the actor said that about being a sellout because Hollywood stole him away from his true passion, writing. Richard was a writer. As you know, he had diaries, but they weren't the only place he put his thoughts. He also used loose papers and pocketbooks. In the end, he had more than 400,000 written words. So, Richard thought in the end he would get a broader tertiary education at Oxford University, obtain a degree, teach, and eventually write books. His career didn't give him the time, as he was quite an in-demand actor. However, he wrote and published articles on rugby and his beloved country, Wales. With how he chose Hamlet over a $1 million job, the actor had the respect of people who felt he was not a sellout, who cared only about money and not acting. How ironic. But honestly, we understand where the actor was coming from and why he would think so low of himself. Most of his films in Hollywood were not really great vehicles for his talent. And most of the time, his motivation for choosing films was money and not necessarily if they were the best fit for him. There was one incident that described this perfectly. The incident led Burton's female lead, Joan Collins, describe Richard Burton's attitude in the film as one which didn't care about anything except him getting paid. After the Henry V stage production, which helped put the actor's career back on track, he immediately went off track with the next movie he starred in. Burton didn't take time to do findings about the film, so when the director, Roberto Rossellini, talked to Burton, he just signed himself up for the movie Sea Wife. Although with how respected the director was, the actor wouldn't have been able to decline. The film had problems with the director having fights with the studio, bankrolling the film. They had conflicts about the creative direction the film would take, so the director left and the film's executive producer, Bob McNaught, became the new director. The film flopped thoroughly, and it didn't get praise from critics or pull its weight at the box office. It was when the esteemed actor married Elizabeth Taylor that he began to carefully choose the films he wanted to be part of. Richard revealed that before Taylor, he chose films based on how he felt it would make him get rich. He admitted that his method of doing films was rubbish. Still, the fact that he stopped choosing his Hollywood flicks based on how much money he could earn showed that the actor did give more thought to his career than he would care to admit. Thank goodness Taylor had to straighten him out. Speaking of Taylor, did you know that Marlon Brando and Richard Burton fought over her? At least this is what Anna Cashby, Marlon's ex-wife, put in her book Brando for Breakfast. It looked plausible that Brando and Burton exchanged fists over Elizabeth. It wouldn't be the first time men would feud over the beautiful actress. Eddie Fisher left his wife, Debbie Fisher, to be with Elizabeth Taylor without minding the consequences. This was the kind of woman Taylor was. Men did things for her without minding the consequences. So according to Anna, Burton and his friend punched each other out when they were on a yacht. However, it's only Anna saying this. There was not one mention of this in Burton's diary, and his diary was detailed. The only thing that was in Burton's diary about Brando was praise. Richard wrote that Brando was an intelligent man, but he carried a cross too heavy for him to bear. According to Burton, Marlon suffered from the weight of his talent and the early success it brought. He also said the same thing about Elizabeth. Richard rated Marlon over himself, too. He said Brando had the potential to become the biggest film star ever. Besides, why would he fight with Marlon, especially when there could have been a potential romantic relationship between them? Yes, Burton could have been a homosexual, which may be one thing he had in common with Brando. The two of them were womanizers with a tremendous amount of libido, which they used on both sides of their sexuality. Let's say sex has no sex, Brandon said, and it has made people make assumptions about his romantic inclinations. It's made people conclude that he liked both men and women. He even admitted to having experiences with men, and he said he wasn't ashamed to admit it. Brando wasn't the only one who thought that way. Burton did too. Burton had confessed on air that he had experimented with men, and said it wasn't only him. He revealed that many actors were like this, but used drinks to smother their impulses. Elizabeth Taylor also admitted that her two-time husband indeed liked men and tried to seduce her former husband, Eddie Fisher. It would have been an awkward love triangle, as Richard was having a passionate affair with Elizabeth herself. However, Graham Jenkins, Burton's sibling, laughed at what Taylor claimed. He said it couldn't be possible, and that if his brother liked men, then he, Graham, was a nun in a Catholic convent. Well, Graham also knew what he was saying because Burton loved women, and he allegedly slept with 2,500 women. But out of all these women, his explosive relationship with Elizabeth Taylor almost consumed the two of them. Richard Burton was born Richard Walter Jenkins, Jr. on November 10, 1925, in Ponthredaven, a Welsh village in West Glamorgan. He was the 12th of 13 children, and the reason why he didn't have more siblings was that his mother died after giving birth to his Graham. Her death was due to birth complications. Richard's dad was a coal miner who didn't make much money, but that didn't stop him from having many children. And as if his salary as a coal miner wasn't small enough, the actor's dad gambled and drank like a fish, a trait that Burton inherited. Burton's reputation for drinking worsened as he suffered great misfortunes. Burton's dad would go on long drinking binges to the extent that he wouldn't come home for weeks. He led the charge for absent fathers. He wasn't the one that raised Richard. It was Richard's sister, Cecilia, who raised her brother along with the other siblings. But the rest of the older siblings just didn't leave Cecilia to the job of raising their younger brother. They stepped up too. Ifer mainly served as a solid role model for Burton. Ifer took his brother to his rugby matches, where they discovered Burton had great skill. However, it wasn't a rugby player the star actor would become. His destiny was far grander, and it began when the actor passed a scholarship exam that would see him attend Port Talbot Secondary School. His aptitude didn't end at rugby. It cut across everything else. His academic prowess made him the first of his siblings to get a high school education. But life wasn't easy. Cecilia and her family members weren't rich, so when Burton reached the age, he began to also put in a shift to survive. He took different jobs to make money. Today he was a newspaper boy, and tomorrow he would pack mountains of horse manure. Despite these activities, the actor heard a distinctive call in his mind. He heard the call of the stage, and he listened. But he wasn't going to be an actor yet. He first began as a singer. His first stint as a performer was at a local Welsh music and arts festival. At the festival, he won the prize for singing. Richard became hooked, and he sought to repeat his success. That drive to win the competition the second time pushed him toward the man that sent him on the path to greatness, his teacher, Philip Burton. It was from Philip that Richard got his surname. It was a way to honor Philip, who was with the actor every step of the way. Philip was the drama department head at Richard's school and took up the challenge of making his protege win the next competition. So Philip brought a complex song that he thought could help Burton win. However, he didn't. But the mentoring continued. and it was easy to mentor Burton too, since Philip was also Burton's squadron commander at the local Air Training Corps. However, despite the mentoring, Burton soon lost his way. He abandoned school for a while, but Philip wouldn't let his protege go astray. Philip was directing the BBC radio play and found a part for his young ward. He also ensured the young man returned to school, and despite the period being consuming for him, he stuck to it, and it paid off. Through one of Philip's plays which he had a part in, Burton had his first professional role, and just like that, his journey as an actor began, only for it to almost end. Burton had to drop everything when he joined the Army. The actor served as a navigator in the Army and could combine his acting with the work. After achieving small success on the stage, a film role came with The Last Days of Darwin, which found favor with critics and introduced Burton to the British audience. On the set of the film, the actor met his wife, Sybil, and perhaps it is there that the actor cultivated the habit of trying to woo the female cast members he started alongside. The star had a wandering eye, and his wife Sybil dealt with it as long as he returned home. The actor continued to achieve stage success and received praise from co-stars and directors who didn't initially buy into the praise he got. The actor convinced the skeptical actor and director of the stage play, The Lady's Not for Burning, John Gielgud. The play established him in Britain and took him to America, where he became a rave and even got more plays, including Shakespearean ones. Then Hollywood swooped on him, offering him a lead in My Cousin Rachel, which was great for a new entrant. The star actor got acclaim, but the film wasn't a commercial success. Painfully, he lost a more commercial role to his buddy Marlon Brando in Julius Caesar. It was Elizabeth Taylor that connected the two men to be friends. However, not all co-stars liked him. Olivia de Havilland disliked him and called him a crudely talented coarse man. Well, some other stars felt this way about this man, and initially Elizabeth Taylor did too. Her first impression of the man was that he was full of himself. So when they starred in a stage production of Cleopatra, the star actor tried to woo the star actress, and it was a disastrous attempt. They were both married to other people at the time. But somehow, the two got together when Taylor fell for him unexpectedly. What happened could have been a plan from Burton, but if it was a plan, it was a totally genius plan. Burton had an alcohol issue, and he began to drink before the performance. He hadn't slept, too, and had problems remembering his lines. The actor got so jittery that he couldn't drink coffee, so Elizabeth calmed him and held the coffee drink to his mouth for him to drink. From there, something sparked between them, and they began an affair. It was a torrid one at first. Ifer, who worked as Burton's bodyguard, found out that his little brother was messing with someone else's wife, and it angered him so much. Burton wasn't even attempting to keep it a secret, telling anyone with ears that he had slept with Taylor. Red with fury, Ifer found his brother and beat him until he had a black eye. But this didn't stop his brother, who was also having other women on the side. Eventually, Taylor's husband came, and Burton's wife came around. She was sure her husband would come home before seeing him and Elizabeth perform on stage. After the performance, she knew she had lost her man and promptly divorced him. She got a nice settlement out of it, however, which she used to open a disco club in New York. Taylor and Burton withstood different insults on their being together. Even the Catholic Church took offense at how the two of them went about their relationship. Eventually, they got married, and their relationship was intense. It wasn't a peaceful relationship, as both of them had issues. Taylor had her own problems, and Burton had his drinking, which got worse when his brother Ifer got into an accident that paralyzed him when they both got drunk. Burton blamed himself for the incident, and eventually when his brother died, what they thought was worse about his drinking was child's play. Feeling like a sellout, too, contributed to the drinking. As the actor said, "I am fundamentally so bored with my job that only drink is capable of killing the pain." The drinking got him into dangerous situations, too. There was one time that he got into a shooting when he wore a German Third Reich uniform, which made him look like a World War II aggressor. It took Elizabeth's intervention to prevent the actor from getting shot. The two of them would later divorce after 10 years of marriage. It wasn't that they didn't love each other, but their love was destructive. The two still found their way to each other when Elizabeth had a cancer scare. But the reasons they divorced were still there, and they divorced a second time. Burton's drinking continued to damage his health, and he was also an unrelenting performer, which meant he didn't rest or take care of himself as he should have done. He added smoking to his vices and would blitz through 3 packs of cigarettes in a day. Eventually, he had a cerebral hemorrhage when he was 58 years old. The established actor came from humble beginnings and became one of the most in-demand actors of his time. He survived bad films, but in the end, he couldn't survive bad health. But now it's time to shift our focus to another Hollywood icon, Gene Kelly. In our next video, we'll explore the controversy surrounding Kelly's personal life and ask the question, was he a monster or a legend?